Hello, and welcome back to the Madison channel. My name is Madison, and today we have a very special Black History Month, of course, episode for you for Doc Talk. Today we're going to be discussing whether or not the Zeus Network is bad for the Black community. If you're interested in that topic, keep watching, hit the subscribe button if you're new, like and comment for both of y'all groups, and watch all my ads. Mwah. Also, all my socials are in the description, and yeah, check me out on all of them. Mwah. Love you. This is the second installment of my new series on my channel called Doc Talk, which I would typically be breaking down a documentary for you guys for, whatever month, whatever topic we're talking about. The first episode we talked about Heaven's Gate cult and that whole situation. So if you're interested in that, check that out. I'll link it in the description. But today we're going to skew what Doc Talk is to open it up to be more about media, discussing media, and I think the topic of the Zeus Network is one of those things that is a hot topic in the Black community, and it's risen to virality, to fame in the most recent years, and I think that it's a topic that it's time to tackle because honestly, there's a lot to say about it, and I've seen a lot of opinions about it, and I don't agree with a ton of opinions about it. So, like I said, I'm really excited to discuss this. This is a skewing of what Doc Talk would normally be about, but we are discussing the Zeus Network, so get ready, strap in, and let's discuss it. So for some of you, I guess we're probably wondering, what exactly is the Zeus Network? What is it? What does it stand for? What am I talking about? Does it have to do with true crime? Does it have to do with this? Does it have to do with that? And the Zeus Network is...
Yes, your daughter has so much to look up to. She does. Don't you ever think about shout. I'm iconic bottom. Everybody bottom. You are the bottom. You think so?
The Zeus Network is a online streaming service. We know there's a ton of them. Basically marketed towards the Black community, and their tried and true type of media that they produce, type of shows they produce is reality TV. Now, you can pay for a whole year subscription, which is like $50, or pay monthly, which is like $5.99 per month. And they have a ton of different reality TV shows on their platform. Typically, a lot of these reality TV shows are centered around influencers in the Black community, former reality TV stars from other shows in the Black community, as well as, different celebrities in the Black community. They oftentimes go to the Zeus Network to be able to have a show, pitch a show, and because the Zeus Network's overhead is so small, and we'll talk more about that, they are able to, make the dreams of a lot of these influencers come true in having their own reality TV show centered around them. Now, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of that in a second, but that was actually the intent of the CEO of the Zeus Network. So a little bit more about the Zeus Network. The Zeus Network was launched by Lumel Plummer in 2018, and again, like I said, most of the genre shows are within the reality TV sector. There's one documentary on there, and there's lots of different types of reality TV shows. You have shows that center around a singular person. There's a show about Black China. There's a show about Dre and Michelle, if you're familiar with those two women. They have their own reality TV shows on there. Then they have ensemble cast shows like Jocelyn's Cabaret, which is a competition-based show, and you are competing to win a spot on Jocelyn's Cabaret as well as win money. There is the Baddies series, which is a spoof or like a different take on Bad Girls. I'd say Bad Girls with less restrictions. Which is headed by Natalie Nunn, who is a former Bad Girl. If you watch the show, she was on season 4 of Bad Girls. And she also has another franchise called Bad Boys, and they just had their first season this past summer. Then you have love-based competition shows like One Mo Chance from Chance, and the center of that show is Chance from Real and Chance from I Love New York from um, MTV or VH1. I think it was VH1. I Love New York was a love-based show on VH1 that was a spin-off of Flavor of Love, and Chance was on I Love New York twice, I think, and then he now had his own show on another spin-off of a love-based show on VH1 back in the early 2000s. And then his brother Real died, and now he has his own show on the Zeus Network. Similar format. He's had like a couple seasons of his love competition show. And then there is Bobby I Love You Purr, which is another love-based reality TV competition show. And I think it's the only one that centers black and brown gay men, which is pretty crazy. Pretty, for a black network, we'll talk more about it, but that is a big step in terms of just being inclusive. And I think it's the first reality TV show, love-based show, urban reality TV love-based show centering homosexual people, which I think is great. But that show's messy as hell. And then they had a documentary on OnlyFans during the pandemic, which was kind of random. That was headed by Black China. They also have this series called The Conversation, which it's messy. I like it. But The Conversation is basically like, you know how people have online beef and they tweet back and forth with each other and stuff like that online, and that kind of blows up and the drama blows up and we all see it. The Conversation is a show produced by the Zeus Network where the people who are having online beef are able to sit face to face and have a conversation. Do they really have a conversation? No, but it's entertaining nonetheless. So as you can see, there's diversity in terms of the type of reality TV show that they have. I think they need to diversify more in terms of the type of content that they're portraying. But there's a lot of different types of content that they have. Also on the love-based competition show, Black China's mom, Tokyo Toni, had the first or the second love-based show, and then B. Simone had another love-based show. And then TT had a love-based show. So they've been doing this for a long time. I mean, it's going on 5 years at this point, but they have grown with the quality, they've grown with the star power that they're able to pull, and now they just recently announced that they have the exclusive streaming rights for Floyd Mayweather's most recent fight, which is a huge deal, and I think they're looking to diversify the content that they produce. But their bread and butter is reality TV shows in whatever you think a reality TV show could be. They have it on the platform, period. So I'm just going to be honest with y'all. A lot of people have a lot of very intensely negative opinions about the Zeus Network, and I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I love it. I love mess. Always have been that person that loves mess and drama. I've always loved reality TV. Hell, I grew up on it. The first reality TV shows were of my time as I was watching MTV, VH1, all of those shows I'm obsessed with. And so to me, the Zeus Network is just tapping into what a lot of people are not honest about, but they love. A lot of people like to shit on reality TV as a genre a lot of the time because of the mess, because of the drama, because of the drink throwing, the cussing, and whatever, and like to pretend that they're prim and proper. But there's a reason why these shows on the Zeus Network are trending every week that they go up. They're trending, they're going viral, the clips are going viral because everybody likes to watch it. Now, for me, I'm honest with myself. I watch all types of media. I love great documentaries that are very high vibrational. I love art stuff, nature stuff, whatever. Anything. I love it. I love good movies, shitty movies, silly movies, kid movies. I love to consume media in general. But one of the tried and true things that I do love is ratchet messy, dramatic reality TV shows. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to sit here and apologize to anybody for that. So because of that reason, as soon as I heard that the Zeus Network existed, which was through the Black China show back in, I think it was 2018, 2019, I got a subscription, and I've had a subscription since then. I've had a loyal year-long subscription to the Zeus Network since then. I kind of had to stop at a point because I was kind of broke at a point, but then I re-upped as soon as I could for a year again, and I'm going to continue to pay for the content because I do enjoy the Zeus Network. And I don't know why that's so controversial to say. And we'll get into the main critiques about the Zeus Network. We'll get into all of that. But me personally, I love mess. I'm not ashamed of it. I love TV like this, so I will always consume TV like this, point blank, period. I don't think it rots your brain. I don't think it does anything to your brain other than, you're watching a show that you enjoy. I think a lot of people like to make it out to be more than it really is, but I love it. I will always stand by it, and that's why I'm making this video, because in the Black community, the conversation about where the Zeus Network is leading us and how is this a representation of us? Is it a good representation? All of that shit is a huge hot topic, especially now because the Zeus Network came about to me at a really right place, right time. They were warming up in 2018 when they first launched, but by the time the pandemic hit and everybody was obsessed with streaming services and consuming media, during those 1 to 2 years, they really blew up because they were able to capitalize on the time frame that we were in, giving people the content that they wanted and giving it uncensored, because that's the other thing. Because Zeus owns its own platform and it's a website, you are able to see things that you would not be able to see on a normal reality TV show. And I think that's another thing that, people pull from that attracts them to it, because it is uncensored and it is not as polished as the other reality TV shows that we watch nowadays that maybe used to be a little rough around the edges, but now all the girls have money, they got their bodies done, they got their face done, they got their teeth done, and now they don't want to be how they wanted to be when the show first started. So the Zeus Network keeps that grit with it, and I will stand it for the rest of my life, period. And I don't care what nobody has to say about it. So at this point, the Zeus Network has grown to becoming, I think it's nearly $1 billion company, if not $1 billion company. They pay the people who participate. Everyone who's participated on the Zeus Network has said they get paid very well, which is wonderful. They pay their people well. They're not really exploitative in that regard, and they go viral and trend online every week. So they've really have the pulse and the attention of the demographic that they're trying to get the attention of, and it's looking up for them. They're doing wonderful. It's successful. It's polarizing, but it's successful, period. Before we really get into it, right, the specific claims that people have of the Zeus Network being anti-Black, I just want to say a couple things. First things first, I don't think we realize the jump that in my lifetime we've made as a society to be completely and utterly saturated in media at all times. If you're not waking up to your phone, looking at social media, looking at the news, looking at the timeline, you're going to watch it when you eat your breakfast, you're going to listen to it when you're in your car, you're going to go to your work and be on your phone looking at it. The way in my lifetime our connection with media and consuming it has completely changed to being something that you did when you got home from work to watch TV, or you did on the weekends like me. I couldn't watch TV. First of all, I had a Nokia brick as my first phone. The phones that I grew up with are not the phones now. So I wasn't watching video on my phone. I couldn't even take a video on my cell phone back in the day when I was growing up. I could simply watch TV and go on the family computer, and that's how I consumed media. For the most part, I could read a book. I could, read a newspaper, and that was how I consumed media. as technology has really transformed in my lifetime, it transformed the connection and the obsession with consumption of media in my lifetime, to the point where it's just what you do all day, every single day. You're being inundated with media, whether it's on your socials, whether you're looking at the news directly, whether you're watching a YouTube video, you're consuming media. And we're at this point in our society where, as we've seen with COVID misinformation, the MAGA folks, and all of this, misinformation can spread so wildly when people do not have accurate media literacy. And to be so saturated, to have media permeate everything that you do all the time, and to not have media literacy, to be able to see the audience, to be able to vet the source, to be able to accurately see what they're trying to say, to critique it, to consume it, but not just believe it, to actually search for evidence on your own. That doesn't happen anymore. People are so consumed with media that the concept of thinking about who the particular audience that they're speaking to is, who they're trying to convince of something, what they're trying to convince people of something. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody asks questions anymore about the media that they consume. So to be this dangerously consumed by media all day, every day, our entire lives, and not have a break of it, to also be at this point where nobody knows how to consume said media, leads people into very simplistic directions. And when it comes to Black people in our own community, pointing to the Zeus Network as the sole problem in our community, as bad for the Black community, I think it's directly linked to this lack of being able to decipher and critique media as it exists, and not believing everything you're shown, everything you read, everything you scroll past on your timeline. Point blank, period. I think that it's very simplistic. I think it's very simple to say the Zeus Network is terrible for the Black community. I think that's a very simple statement without understanding and addressing what's beyond that statement. A lot of people say and are more comfortable pointing to a singular thing and saying, you're the problem, that's the problem, drugs are the problem, rap is the problem, weed is a problem, sagging your pants is a problem, shout out Bill Cosby, the women are the problem, the men are the problem, homosexuals are the problem, pointing out and using that as a tool to say this is why our community is the way it is, when it's never been and never will be that simple. The Zeus Network isn't the problem. The Zeus Network is simply a place that has media where real people make real individual choices to sign up to be on a reality TV show. And that's as simple as it gets. And if you sit there and think that the people on these shows are indicative of your value, of your worth, and not just indicative of who they are and who they're representing, you have a problem. There's internalized racism within your midst, and you need to root that out and throw it out. Because the reality of the situation is, these are just people who are making a bag from being on a show, who want to do whatever they can to get clout, or to get clout for their business or their music or whatever they're promoting. And they are choosing with their own agency to join the Zeus Network. That's how I see it. I don't see it as exploitative. I don't see it as anything other than, you, by this time, with the Zeus Network existing, you know what the shows are giving. So if you're deciding to get on these shows, you know what you're prepared to do. And I let you, as an adult person, make those decisions on your own. I have no business trying to tell you what to do with your life. And baby, I'm going to watch every second of it if you decide to be on the Zeus Network. And I think that in our society, the lack of media literacy, the lack of ability to critique, the lack of ability to separate oneself from the collective, but also demanding that our society separates us and looks at us as individuals, which is hypocrite, which is, an issue within itself. is the problem as to why it's so easy for people to say the Zeus Network is tearing our community apart. It's not. These people exist and would exist whether or not the Zeus cameras are on them or not. The real issues within the Black community run way deeper, run into generational trauma, class issues, access to anything issues, food deserts, racism, gun violence. I mean, there's so many things. Femicide. There's so many issues within the Black community. The Zeus Network has never been, will never be the biggest issue and the biggest downfall in the Black community. I needed to check yourself and check your respectability politic ass mantras and monologues, okay, before you come for a network owned by a Black man. Period. I think it's super important to remember that when we claim and want more representation of us, and this is an important point, this is point number 2, representation isn't always going to be positive. Representation simply means shining a light on different types of people. Shining a light, making sure they're on the stage, making sure you make stories about this so people can relate to it. Having a Black mermaid and having moments of Black excellence is not all the representation that, we should have societally. Period. Not all representation is going to equate to Black excellence. And to try and make it seem like that to try and make all of our representation fit within that concept of Black excellence or Black girl magic or something like that is false and wrong. Our community is so diverse with so many different people, with so many different stories, and to me, all of those stories deserve being put on Front Street. To me, accurate representation is representing all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, so that people can get comfortable with understanding the different types of people within our community, the diversity that exists within our community, and understanding that just because you may not make the same choices or live the same life doesn't mean any of these people are beneath you as human beings. That's what we need to stop doing, because we're self-policing ourselves in this way and trying to block representation that's accurate. Just like there's psycho, crazy, violent, punching, ratchet, loud people in every single community on this planet, you trying to stop the access of people to view that part of the Black community is not helping us. Because we're living in a fantasy. This isn't Wakanda. This is real fucking life. And your cousin Bobo likes to rob people. But he robs people because he grew up with nothing. So let's talk about that story. Your cousin Lele likes to shake ass and have a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's beautiful. I think it's okay. I think we should be able to look at all the people in our community and say, you're beautiful, you're valuable, you're important. So by trying to push these people under the rug and say, because the Zeus Network is platforming these types of people, they deserve this, they deserve that, this is terrible for the Black community, is very simple-minded and is actually causing us, in my opinion, professional opinion, to regress. Because if you are not the exception, if you are not the Black excellence in the representation that all of you want only for us to show outwardly to the public, for the white people to see, if you are not that, then we aren't normalizing that these people exist and they should be valued. You're also adding to the white supremacy of it all, that if you don't act a specific way, your life, your existence, your story is less valuable than those that succumb and assimilate to what Black excellence even is in a fucking white society. Like, have we peeled back the layers of that? Like, these are hard truths and hard questions that we really as a community need to have a conversation about, because why are you ashamed of all the beauty and diversity and all the culture in our community? Why are you talking down on Shanquisha, Shaquita? What's wrong with them? To me, there's nothing fucking wrong with them. They deserve to have whatever they want out of life. They are the same as me. I don't look like I don't feel like I'm above them in any aspect of my life. And to do that is playing into white supremacy and shows your internalized racism. Period. Especially when a lot of times those areas, those people are the people that create the culture that you are going to use and you're going to parlay to get into white spaces. But that's where it originated. But you don't want to give credit where credit's due, and you want to be embarrassed by your aunt with the long ass nails and the loud mouth. Give me a fucking break. Because that is where the richness in our culture is. And if you're going to sit here and talk down and say, oh, it's not representing us well, to who? Who is it not representing us well to? Have you asked yourself that? And why do you care what they think about us? Have you thought about that? And why is it, if it's not representing us well, why are those communities of people, the loud, the aggressive, the beautiful, the creative, why are those communities of people given the shit part of the stick when in reality you're emulating everything that they created naturally? Why? Why are you embarrassed in front of the white folks, Sabrina? Why are you embarrassed, Brianna? Why are you embarrassed? There's nothing to me to be embarrassed about, because guess what? I believe that everyone is allowed to make their own decisions. Everyone has a unique perspective in life, and I value that perspective and that story, and that's as simple as it gets for me. If you want to do shake ass on headlights like the F&F fucking music video, baby, have fun, live your life, be safe. But I'm not going to sit here and look at that and look down my nose and say, you guys are ratchet. You guys are hood boogers. No. I'm going to say, you know what? I wish I was that carefree. That's beautiful. That's beautiful to me. To me, and, because of that, like, for example, like I said, I've had a Zeus subscription for a long time, and the earlier seasons of Jocelyn's Cabaret, Jocelyn's Cabaret has 3 seasons, so the first 2 seasons were very raw. Very, very raw. The first season in particular, very, very raw. They were telling stories and talking about lifestyles that most people don't talk about. Being a 304, having a pimp. What is that like? What pushes you in that direction? What does that mean for you? Being a stripper, being in sex work, does that make you bad? No. But shining a light and representing stories of women and the choices that they have to make and the danger that they face in that lifestyle, though they may be consenting to be in such lifestyle, what does that come with? I would have never learned about that side or those stories in a way that was not a pity party, but just what it is. I would have never learned about those stories had I not watched the first season of Jocelyn's Cabaret. Period. People exist and live in these spaces, so why not represent them? I don't see what's wrong with that. I don't see it. And y'all are dramatic. The third point that I want to make that I think is super important is understanding that this company is still very much in its infancy, right? And a lot of the critiques levied by our own community towards this particular company, it being bad for the Black community, the representation, the violence, are all things that I've heard before and are all things that have been attributed to hip-hop music and rap. All things. Did you know the very first parental advisory sticker was put on a rap album? It was put on the song Banned in the USA by 2 Live Crew. Did you know that? Did you know that there were protests, Black people involved in these protests included, to not purchase or consume rap music, especially particularly gangster rap music, in its infancy. Did you know that? And look at where the genre has come. Because the point that these people were making is, you may not think it's glamorous, you may think it's dangerous, you may think what you want to think, but I'm living it every single fucking day of my life, and I'm just expressing what I'm living. So why, if you think it's too dangerous for me to talk about the stories that I know and the things that I've seen, then why do you think it's acceptable for me to live in these conditions? Let's talk about that. Why are you ignoring our cries for help in these communities, but then you're going to judge me when I tell you what I've seen and what I've experienced? So when I look at the Zeus Network and the critiques levied against them, and I look at gangster rap and what was levied against them, to see what it's come into today, it's a legitimized art form that is global, that we created. It's a form of legitimate expression that so many different people are trying to tap into and trying to get the sauce for, that just don't have the vernacular to have that. You know, we are gatekeeping it now instead of it being shitted on and told and looked down upon. And so I say this to say, when you have critiques about the Zeus Network, before you speak them out loud, how many of those critiques are extremely anti-Black? Really, when you peel back the layers of it, why are you embarrassed of the representation? What's wrong with it? Because you want to exist within a society that hates you and is constantly oppressing you at every moment, no matter how close of a proximity you think you have to whiteness? Is that what it's giving? It's giving those kids, those suburban kids, and I can't talk because I'm straight suburban. Like, my dad grew up, my mom and dad grew up in private school. Both my grandpas were doctors. Both my grandmas were nurses' child. I'm suburban. Like, I grew up in the suburbs in the movies, and I still live there. So I'm not even, talking out of turn when I say this. But the truth is, there's a conversation within the Black community about class that doesn't get enough shine, in my opinion. And a lot of the suburban kids would always come out as adults and say, I was too white for the Black kids and too Black for the white kids. Kind of like how the biracials be talking. And like, oh, they made fun of me. The Black kids made fun of me for liking anime and da-da-da-da-da. And the Black girls didn't think I was cool enough because I wasn't a gangster. And all those tired and through talking points. The reality is, you showed up entitled, bitch. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, when the other Black kids say that to you, they're testing you. Are you safe? Are you safe? They're testing you. They're just jousting with you. And it's not even anything that's morally deplorable. They're just saying, hey, are you safe? Can I trust you? And once you prove that you are safe and they can trust them, they are all accepting and all loving. In my experience, I've never encountered nicer, more accepting, more loving people, more silly people, more amazing people to be around. But they are testing you to see if you are safe because they've been burned before. So for you to use that and say, well, it was devastating for me. And it's like, well, Devontae went home and he only got one meal today because the meal was at school, and the people that he's invited in, he's been burned before, so he's just trying to, in a social way, as kids do, test to see if you are a safe space. And if you pass the test, then you pass the test. But to be so dramatic about something that's like, okay, well, first of all, calm down, Bianca, you're fine, it wasn't that traumatic, you're okay. And it's what you're saying right now is extremely classist, and you don't even realize that, and super anti-Black. that's the conversation that I feel like we're kind of having with people being like, well, in my opinion, the Zeus Network is the one downfall in our community. And it's like, no, bitch, you're just fucking classist, entitled, and you never grew out of it. You don't see the value of telling these people's stories because you're embarrassed of it, and you don't want to admit that. You are embarrassed about what the white people are going to think and what the white people are going to say, and that's embarrassing to me for you, bitch. Grow up. Okay, so we're going to get into the list of the critiques that I've heard the most that I think are just so silly and contrived and stuff. And then we're going to get into the critiques that I think are true, and that I definitely agree with. And then we'll close out with the shows that I think the Zeus Network should put on their platform, especially now that I see that they're really trying to diversify what they're giving the kids. The first one is that it's low budget. And, I agree that it's definitely rough around the edges. But what I also think that, to say it's low budget and say, it's low budget, I look down upon it. Again, there's that classist stuff that I was just speaking on. But to me, it's a new company. Give them time. A lot of these other companies that do reality TV, do ensemble casts, do, putting people in a mansion to get to know each other, the original networks that did Bad Girls Club, those networks had been in existence for a very, 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 very long time. And they have people who are trained in reality TV, years, decades, on the boards to create these reality TV shows. So production and the house dressings and the storylines and all of that stuff is coming from a legitimized network that's been around for decades, for a very long time, who have systems in place behind it that are able to yes something, no something, and make sure it comes off as they want the viewer to see it to come off. So to me, like I said, this is a new company. And the whole goal of the company was to be able to surpass all of the red tape that is required to have a reality TV show on a lot of these bigger networks. It's a smaller network, it's an internet network, it's brand new, and a lot of these people are learning as they go. And what I see is when they produce and when they come out with more and more shows, the more they come out with shows, the higher the budget, the more organized, the more produced in a better way. I see it. So to write it off as low budget and roll your eyes and look down on it, to me, I just think give them time. Give them 10 years and we'll see what it's giving on the platform. Give them 10 years because we're literally seeing them have the pitfalls, grow up and watch and stumble and fall and pick themselves up and, listen to the criticisms or stand firm on their, ideas and convictions. We're watching that all happen in real time with a massive magnifying glass, and yet and still they're being successful, they're going viral, and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're a $1 billion company, just got there in a very quick amount of time, so give them time to cook. Give them time. Don't be classist now. The next one I would have to say I hear the most is the violence and the fighting. And again, I'm not one of these people that just kind of is like, violence is never the answer. I think that's propaganda incepted into our minds by white people in white society to remain docile so we don't fight back for our rights in the right way that we should. We know that they never listen to us when we peacefully protest. They only ever listen to us when we're burning down the Nike store and almost getting stabbed by a woman in a wheelchair at a Target. That's the only time they listen or pay attention or do anything. And even then, they barely do anything. They just name a street after Black Lives Matter and get kente cloth from AliExpress and kneel in the rotunda and expect that to cure inequality in this country, child. But we know what it's giving. Nothing is won without violence. This country wasn't stolen without violence and maintained without violence. In all access, in all, iterations of the word. We are violent. We are a violent country. White people are violent. Why do we have an $800 billion budget for the military? Let's talk about it. So this kind of annoying, like, no, fighting, some people deserve to get slapped. And it shows when you haven't been slapped properly. Point blank, period. Some people deserve it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't agree with this. And we went through all of this conversation already when we were talking about the Will Smith slap, child. Do you not remember? And you're over here like, oh, I'm clutching my pearls because these women are fighting with each other. Do I agree with what they fight about? Not all the time. Do I see where they're coming from? Sometimes. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to... Is that how I would handle the situation? No. I've never been in a fight in my life. No. Not really. I'd use my words. But that doesn't make me better than anybody if that's how the entire group was casted in the first fucking place. Because let's get into that. They are casting a very specific type of people for the very specific type of shows that they are producing. And a lot of times, these people who agree to be on these shows know what the fuck it is. They are about it. They know that sometimes fighting will occur and drama will occur, unnecessarily or necessarily. And they are about it, hence why they were cast in the auditions. So, to me, clutching your pearls and saying, like, oh, the violence, again, rings super anti-black, super elitist, super this, super that, in this way where it's like, sometimes people fight. Get used to it. Grow up. Some people get smacked. Yeah, it happens. It happens. And to be so supportive of Will during the Oscar slap, for the most part as a community, and then turning around and doing the same thing that the white actors and actresses in Hollywood did to Will Smith to other people in our community because you're quote unquote embarrassed by it or it's low vibrational to you. Grow the fuck up, because you don't have any morals. Actually, what I'm finding out is a lot of you people don't even have fucking morals. You're just standing on shit that is commonplace. You're standing on shit so you can stand above people and not actually working through shit so you can stand next to your fellow man. Get over yourself. It's terrible. Sorry, I keep hitting my mouth. It is terrible representation for black women. And I just want people to be so astronomically for real. Like, seriously. As a human adult person, don't have any black people in your life. So you're watching the Zeus Network to find out how black people are. You're an idiot. You need to go outside and touch grass. If you think that there's any legitimate criticism in this in any respect, then you're anti-black already. So congratulations for that. And you need to go and get real black friends or real black family or talk to your family. Like, to be honest, anybody who's going to use the Zeus Network as a litmus test of my value as a black woman who's an individual, standalone, individual person, I don't want to be friends with you, and I'm not trying to impress you or convince you that my life is worth living. Because if you don't see another fellow human being and wonder, what did they go through to get to this point? What's going on in their head? And instead look at them and say, see, that's why all black women are blah, blah, blah. That's why I only date exotic women, blah, blah, blah. That's why I got my passport and blah, blah, blah. And this is why black women are masculine and terrible, bloop, bloop, bloop. You're fucking... Look at me in the eye. You are a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. Point blank, period. I'm sorry if I'm the first one to tell you, but go touch grass and go get to know the black women in your life, in your circle, or black women in general, because at the end of the day, these are people who are deciding to do a show. And I know that they don't represent me. I don't represent them. They are them. I am me, period. And if you continue to like uplift that mindset, you actually are part of the problem. Surprise. The last thing and the last point that I've heard a lot is that it's exploitative. We're getting to some of the legitimate claims of exploitation that I think are happening. And But first, we're going to talk about this. To me, like I said before, if you're signing up to be on a Zeus Network show, you know what it's giving. Unless it's a show that they promised was not giving what it normally gives. You know what I mean? Exploitation, to me, is rooted in trickery, rooted in lying, rooted in blackmail, and I don't see for most of these shows that as the reality. What I do see is people who are trying to get put on, who maybe are a little too clout hungry and are willing to do anything to be put on, and that's a whole other conversation about clout and clout chasers in our society, which I think we could have a legitimate conversation about. I don't think if you are signing up in this year 2023 to be on the Zeus Network baddie season, you don't know what the fuck it's bringing, and you don't know what it's required of you to be on that show. So to me, there's a mutual partnership. They want a good show, and they're picking you because they think you can deliver what the show's expectation and the audience expectation of the show is supposed to give. So honestly, for the great majority of these shows, these people are grown adults. They're agreeing, they're signing a contract, they're getting paid for their services, and from what I hear down the grapevine, paid well for what they do and what they give. Maybe even an opportunity to promote a brand, promote some music, promote something. Honey, I don't think that's exploitation, and I'll just leave it there. I don't think that's exploitation. I think that you're assuming it's exploitation because you don't like the content itself, or you're judgmental of the content itself and you're assuming it's exploitation. The reality is a lot of the people who come on these shows for season 2, 3, and 4 know what it's giving, and they were casted for a fucking reason. Let's be honest. I think the next part is really important for me to state because obviously the question I'm answering for myself personally, this again is my opinion. You can debate in the comment section below. These are the reasons why I consume the Zeus Network and why I like it and why I'm never going to end my subscription with it. But within that, I understand that some people may think that I condone all of the activity and certain things that have happened and da-da-da-da-da. I don't condone all of the activity, but what I will say is to judge the whole network as being low budget, ratchet, this and that, and da-da-da-da, I think there's a conversation about internalized racism and white supremacy. Now, some of the more legitimate concerns that I have just two. One being, and I think first and foremost, is Krishan Rock and Blueface. I think that show that they did was a mistake. I think it's glorifying an abusive relationship. I think it's very sad. I can't stomach watching it. I don't watch it. And I think that they are, in this particular case, exploiting the virality and the toxicity and the abuse and the physical abuse of these two people in order to get a bag off them, because they know that they're trending. Hell, they're trending every fucking week, the two of them, with their on again, off again bullshit. So they know the public have this dark-seated side to wanting to watch this, and I think it's dark-sided to put a show and put money behind a show when you know that these people are not well, they're not sober, they're not trying to do well or do right by anybody. They are struggling, and they should be given help and therapy, not being plastered and put on national TV so we can consume it. I think it's dark-sided. I think Krishan is a young girl who grew up hard and grew up tough, and she's dating for survival. I think that Blueface is an opportunist because she knows that she's lightning in a bottle and is dragging her down, because if you notice, every time she's on a camera, on a live, there's a bottle of Casamigos right next to her. He's forcing her to take a shot. He's forcing her to consume something that'll alter her state of being. And I think there's something very dark-sided about that. In all seriousness, they should have never made that show. And to me, that's exploitative. And I hope they learn from this. And I hope they never try and make another show like this again, because it's sick to me. I think number two, and my second, is the security on these shows. I think that it would do them well to actually invest in security on these shows. Real experienced security and not security that plays favorites. Because if you are tapped into the Zeus Network T, the reason why there hasn't been announced a Jocelyn's Cabaret season 4 at this point is not because the show isn't wildly popular and Jocelyn can't deliver. It's because of what happened at the reunion of season 3 to, 2 of the cast members and, the lack of security and the favoritism played with security in these reindeer games on protecting Jocelyn when she was an aggressor and she had her husband beat up a woman. I think it's wrong. I think it's sick. And I think that what they need to do is polish up. And it would behoove them to get that message right now before anything more serious happens. They need to polish up. They need to make sure that security is a separate entity that doesn't play favorites, that doesn't do messy shit, that doesn't get into the drama, but they're there and being paid to do their job, which is to secure the set, to make sure people don't get hurt as well as they can, and to block things from happening and coming on. You know what I'm saying? I think it's I don't know if these people really have backgrounds in security or they're just friends of people and they're big and they can wear a security shirt and kind of block things and hold on to people and separate people. I'm not sure, but I think the security team needs to be polished up and elevated for the level of altercations and drama that these shows produce. Not that I'm saying it should stop producing that, but what I am saying is security needs to up its shit, because you don't want to be liable for people dying, for people losing an eye, for real serious shit. You want to make sure that, you understand that this is a show, this is an entertainment show, and you keep it above board. Point blank, period. Last but not least, and before we get into the conclusion, if I thought this question would be it was such a fun thing to add to this video, but what would I change and what content would I want on the Zeus Network for them to diversify? And here are my ideas. Okay. So, first and foremost, bring back College Hill, which is a reality TV show where they would get real people who were in college in different parts of the country and make a reality TV show around it. They're kind of trying to revisit that with celebrity version where they go to college, and I don't like that as much. I like the idea of having College Hill with real people but centered around HBCUs around the country, which would give people the opportunity to see the value of HBCUs, to see different HBCUs across the country that maybe they haven't heard about, and also to uplift communities of people that aren't already celebrities or aren't already people that are known in the industry, and give them an opportunity while also educating our community on the college options that they have towards them. And I think that'd be a great idea, period. I miss reality TV shows where people were nobodies. I miss that. I miss reality TV shows that weren't lazy and just attaching themselves to a name of somebody because that person is big. No, I want reality TV shows that are grounded in reality with real people. So I think that would be a great idea. Sorry, excuse me. I think they should definitely lean into the more uncensored aspect of the platform. The unique part about the Zeus Network is it's not a primetime network. It's not a cable channel. It is an online streaming service. So they are able to show nudity. They're able to show and talk about stories that maybe they wouldn't be able to talk about stories about. They're able to not bleep out certain things because they don't have the FCC breathing down their neck in order to edit videos to be appropriate. I think that they should lean into that aspect and have documentaries. There is about being a 304, and that lifestyle. I think those documentaries are so interesting, especially the grittier ones. There's one called The Point. I think it's called The Point. You can watch it on YouTube, but it's very interesting, and it interviews actual people who are streetwalkers, street stalkers, getting their money in their real life. and what they're dealing with. And I think that would be super interesting. So I think leaning into the uncensored aspect, sex workers, documentaries on sex workers, shows about sex workers could be really fucking interesting. I think maybe bringing back or revamping something like True Life, that MTV had. Remember, like, True Life, I'm anorexic, or True Life, I had Tourette's. I think grounding the reality TV thing back in reality would be 100% great, but with the added ability of showing stories that MTV couldn't show. So I think that would be really cool. I think they should have a reality TV show centered around like a place of work, but it being a strip club and talking about the culture of a strip club and stuff like that. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be hella cool. Yes, I think they should do a Super Sweet 16 type show, but with all the Instagram baddies when they are doing their big birthday dinners that are like super curated, and like the behind the scenes of that, and putting on different event planners and what they do and how they plan. I think that'd be hella cool. The drama behind the scenes, like Super Sweet 16 was awesome in that regard, and I think that they should bring that back. That'd be, and it's also pretty benign, you know, wealthy people having a wealthy party and watching them party plan. Like, that's, you know, diversifying reality TV, diversifying what you can give. I think that would be really cool. I think they should give Kat Stacks a show. And if you don't know who Kat Stacks is, Kat Stacks was the original Selena Powell. She was my generation Selena Powell. And to be honest, Kat Stacks is really Kat Stacks is really another version of Corinne Steffens, who is the original Kat Stacks, who I think should also have a show on the Zeus Network, and a show about her life, because she's incredibly smart. She can have a show about mentorship. I think she's a wonderful woman. She's very smart, and she's awesome, and I think she'd do great on a show of her own creation on the Zeus Network. But I also think Kat Stacks should have a show, period, because her lifestyle, everything that she represented, going back in time to go back when she was making those exposed videos, would be so delicious, and I think she should have a really entertaining show. I think they should do a prom dress maker designer reality TV show, whether it's, you know, following different prom dress makers and what they do during prom season, or having it be a competition show where maybe at the end these designers get their own shop somewhere and stuff like that. Like, I think that'd be hella cool too. Competition shows, like fashion shows, like things like that. Like, I love those types of reality TV shows. I think they should just do an all trans ensemble cast show, whether it's all of them living in a house like the Jersey Shore, whether it's a competition based show like America's Next Top Model, but with trans people, would be great. Whether it's a love show, whether it's something, but I think there should be some trans representation there. I think that'd be hella cool and hella progressive and inclusive, and allow people to be exposed to the real. I think that'd be wonderful. I think they should do some reality shows centering around a beauty shop or a barber shop, and just what goes on in those spaces in the Black community would be really cool and really dope. The creativity of an old school beauty shop, there's nothing like it. There's like the smell of an old school beauty shop, the music that played, the twisting and the clacking of the Marcel irons. Like, baby, there's nothing. If you could bottle that, I'd live in that bottle, babe. Something that like that would be really cool. Like, what is the conversations in a beauty shop, the drama, stuff like that. I think they should do a show like Unsung. Unsung is a show where they would have, you know, people who are maybe one-hit wonders or kind of faded, who are like musically very talented, and they come on and they talk about their experience and their impact on the culture. I think that would be really cool. But we could also go with, you know, internet sensations like Joanne the Scammer would be on one. You know, different people that impacted our culture, and our culture will never be the same without them. But what are they doing now and stuff like that? Like, I think that'd be really cool, with like meme culture being the center of it, but also like online culture in general. And I think they should do something like MTV fucking News. but hosted by someone like Ray Monte or something like that. Ray Monte from TikTok would be hella cool, where they interview people or people go there to drop new music and stuff like that. And they also are talking about current events and talking about hot topics, but also talking about real news, which was what MTV News was, which was really fucking cool. And I think that'd be awesome. But those are my ideas. I think they're great. I think they're inclusive. But I think they're ideas that would diversify the platform and make it more legitimate and less shaky as it stands right now, in my personal opinion. I still love the Zeus Network. I will consume all the shows on the Zeus Network, love them, but I think they need to, spread out and do different types of reality TV. I'm happy that they're diversifying with the Floyd fight. I think pay-per-view fights and things like that is a really fucking awesome idea, a really cool idea, and I hope they do more of that kind of thing. But those are my ideas, and I think they, do really well on the platform. I guess in conclusion, I just want to say that a lot of times, a lot of the critiques that we lodge and weigh towards each other are based in, anti-blackness and white supremacy and classism. And I think it's time that we kind of take away the layers of just saying stuff and not really understanding what they mean, or not really understanding the origin story of why we're saying that. I think the Zeus Network is just like any other network. I think it's the same as any other network. I think people sign up to be on it. I think people sign up and decide to show out and live their life, and I think that that's totally acceptable, and I'm not valuing anyone less because they're on the show, and I'm not valuing my people any less because they own the network or on the show. I think that's very, very problematic, and I think a lot of y'all need to check your internalized racism and really do some fucking work and soul searching to pull out that shit from inside of you and understand that there's no reason to be embarrassed by our people. People can be people. There's good people, there's bad people in every fucking part of our society, no matter the color. And to judge someone and look down on someone because they're different than you, I think is like the most gutter, stupid bitch shit. So that's my opinion on the Zeus Network. And I guess all I have to say is, in the description box there is my socials, so make sure to follow all of them. Next week we are going to be coming back with a True Crime in Society video, and we're going to be discussing Fred Hampton and his impact on all of our lives. We're going to be discussing Judas and the Black Messiah, and whether or not that was a good representation of the true story. We're going to be discussing some real black-ish, so I'm excited about that. So stay tuned for that video next week. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping in to watch the video. Thank you so much. If you are returning, I love you so much. If you're new, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, interact with the video, comment, all of the things it does better in the algorithm. And if you're returning, please like and comment on this video. Comment on all my shit. Follow me on everywhere. I love you so much for your support. Thank you so much. And you had watch all my fucking ads that were attached to this video, please and thank you. With that being said, all I have to say is Black Lives Matter and free Palestine until it's backwards. Mwah. Love you so much. Bye.